Recording I'm not recording.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Namaskar, Sarni. Today we're going to talk about Kashmir Shaivism. Upayas. Vijay Darji is going to lead a session like he has done before all of our sessions. Thank you for joining. This session is brought to you with KOA Heritage Preservation Committee. Thank you. Over to you, Vijay.
Namaskar, Mara. Mara, I want to first start with saying that some of you are kind of new to this, it seems. And so we did in 2024, under this KOA Heritage Committee, we did several webinars on Kashmir Shaivism, particularly in the context of 21st century. And the purpose is to really help rejuvenate our community across the globe, particularly in the US, around our spiritual heritage, and particularly also attract KP youth to this. So that's why in the context of 21st century is important so that they can get attracted. Secondly, I want to say that, I'm just a fellow traveler with all of you. I'm just like anybody else trying to learn this and just kind of sticking my neck out and trying to explain something for which I'm not an expert. But because I was so impressed by this in the last five odd years, that I decided that in spite of not knowing enough about it, I'll just go ahead and actually start a conversation about this with the community. And again, uh, I'm not a guru or something. I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to share whatever we have, whatever I have learned, and make attract people into learning more of it, and then also particularly connect this to our way of life, our Kashmiri way of life, and get some meaning out of what we do and why we do it. And particularly because last year I tried to kind of make show the relevance of this wisdom uh, in the struggles of Western society today in this area of science and technology, public health, ethics, and aesthetics. So I always try to weave in some of those messages which kind of address some of those challenges of this today's society, and how this wisdom is helping to kind of uh, mitigate some of those struggles. Uh, and this work draws heavily on the Western perspective and not necessarily our authentic Kashmiri stuff, because I have not been exposed to this when I was in Kashmir. I was only exposed to this through the eyes of Westerners like Chris Wallace and people who have learned under Swami Lakshmanju, but they are Western people and they have this Lakshmanju Academy. So I actually do courses and sanghas under them. So whatever I have learned is actually from their eyes. So uh, I must give credit to whatever I've learned from them to them. And lastly, after doing the 2024 work, the content creation last year, this year we are doing deep dives, and we did the deep dive on Tattva model, and today we are going to start the Upayas. So I'm going to go ahead and um, share my presentation. Let me just
While you're
share.
looking for your presentation, I just wanted to ask,
Sure.
there are new people who have joined here. Yeah, I just wanted to just ask if anybody wanted to share something about why they joined uh, this particular group. I know there are regulars, but those who are new, if you want to share what prompted you to join for a quick minute or two, you could share that before Vijayji starts the new Upayas.
Who's Sahana is?
Yeah,
I
so
think.
especially I think Sahana is our youth person. Sahana, hello, welcome, namaskar.
Namaskar. I used to come here, I think the first or second time this started, but then, life happens. And I just think, the circumstances we're in are so unprecedented, so crazy, that it would be nice to remember that it's all part of a cycle. And I think Shivji is always very good for that because in Shivji's power lies creation that comes after destruction as well as destruction itself. So I think it'd be nice to be able to remember that as one goes through one's day to day in this crazy world. So I mean, लोग बोलते हैं कलयुग शुरू हो गया. I'm like, हाँ, but actually लगता है, oh my God, actually हो शुरू हो गया. So, I mean, that's personal preference. No slamming anybody on the thing. I'm just saying, feels like that these days to me. So,
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that,
yeah,
Sana. You're
yeah,
welcome here. I'm glad you came back. Yeah.
yeah.
Pesha Khan, anybody new? Pankaj, is he Pankaj new?
I,
Namaskar, Mara was going to attend Karan case sessions, but due to other things, conflicting time, wo kusne keh karit maza attend. But just like Vijay ji, as you said, like UTS Kashmir is, I didn't get exposed to this kind of stuff later on through the Lakshmanju Academy and some other things. I got exposed. Now I am interested more, learning more, immersing myself more into these things. Just more interested on this topic.
Thank you.
welcome, Pankaji. Glad you're here.
Okay. Dilip ji, karo start then.
Kirima, Kiridusha.
Okay. Okay. So let me share again and let me hide again this thing. Okay. So you know what I'm doing is I'm actually doing three parts in this medication. Okay. First, I want to kind of just give you a big picture about this. You know, the practice, the upayas. And upayas are basically means of getting to the goal. But I'm going to show a big picture of that, and then we're going to do a quick recap of you know, whatever from the from last year's work and Tattva map, whatever is relevant for this upayas. I'm going to just do a quick update on that, and then I'll talk a little bit about how the upayas evolved and why upayas are needed for reaching the goal, and then of course the main thing where, you know, I'll talk about the beginning of this upaya concept in the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra, and I'll talk about the Shaktipatha and Anugraha and importance of all of that to Diksha and Guru. And then we'll go to the individual means. One is, of course, the Anupaya or individual Upayas. Anupaya, and then Shambha Upaya, Shaktopaya, Anavopaya, and we'll also do a mapping of the big Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, which came first before any of these other, you know, scriptures came. So, but after this whole thing happened, after 200 or 300 years, Abhinav Gupta did the mapping of many of these yuktis or practices in Vigyan Bhairav, 112 methods, and he kind of mapped them to these Shambhovapaya, Shaktopaya, Anopaya, etc. And so we'll kind of do that. And lastly, I think I want to spend some time on practices. Because I'm not a guru or something, I'm not going to lead any practices, but I will see if you guys have the appetite for basically participating with me in some of the practices that were actually conducted by Lakshmanju Academy as part of the course, which I did. Of course, every time I kind of listen to that course. Every time I learn something new and I get better experiences. And so I want to kind of share with you, and we can see in moving forward whether we want to do more of those practices or not. But anyway, I think this is going to take a few sessions, maybe 3 or 4 sessions to complete this. So I would go ahead and start with this, the big picture. So basically, there are 3 parts to this. You know, the big picture is really define our true nature. That's the view, which is what is the direction that we have to go. The defining the true nature. True nature basically sharing the view of this Kashmir Shaivism on what the true nature is. That actually helps us to get to the goal, and then the first thing is recapping the view, where we'll be talking about tattvas. I mean, just a quick recap of tattvas, the transcendental Shiv nature, Shakti's manifestation, Vak, Abhasa. This is the view that I've actually covered at a high level last year. I'm going to just recap to show you what that view is, and then in the goal we have experience of a true Shiv nature, which is basically Bhairava nature. That's what is called the Bhairava nature, which actually has got three components to it: the awareness component, which is called Bodh, the freedom component, Swatantriya, and the last is the Ananda component, which is the ecstasy. So in the Bodh, we basically uh, through our awareness every day, every moment of our life, we are basically feeding the goddesses through our senses, whatever we are doing. So some of this will become more apparent later. This is a high level view. And Swatantriya is basically the freedom, which basically gives us the ability to actualize all possibilities, because Shiva is really a field of all possibilities. Everything is possible in unlimited powers, unlimited kriya, unlimited shakti, ichha, unlimited knowledge. So uh, with that, Shiva gets the Swatantriya nature and the freedom nature, and we can actualize all possibilities, or Shiva can actualize all possibilities, which is Shiva's nature. And lastly, in doing so, he enjoys the ecstasy, uh, with his anugraha, basically, we live a full life, and that state is called Turyatita, where in practice, every day, every moment of our life, we feel the bliss, the ananda of that freedom and awareness. So this is the perpetual state of presence that witnesses life moment to moment, accepting everything with grace, rejecting nothing, and responding with equanimity, which is what Jivan Mukti and Moksha is. That is the goal, and we'll see what the view is. Recap all the essential elements of that view, and then we'll do with the practices to really go to the goals, and those are what upayas are. And uh, upayas use everything that is there in the nature, the shaktis, because nature is all shaktis. It's not possible for anyone to reach the Shiva state without the Shakti. So Shakti, which is all that we have in this manifestation, uh, is the way we can reach Shiva. Without Shakti, we cannot reach Shiva, and that's why Shakti is so important in Kashmir Shaivism. It's more important than Shiva itself, because without Shakti, Shiva is a void. It is nothing. Shiva, is Shakti is really inherent part of Shiva, but without this inherent part, Shiva is basically nothing. It's a void. It's a void. It's inert. So in order to reach Shiva nature, we have to use Shaktis in this real world. And that's why this real world is also important, is real. It's important. So in Kashmir Shaivism, that's one uniqueness, that Shiva cannot be reached without Shakti, and therefore Shakti is important, more important than the Shiva nature, which is the ultimate goal. So this is the high level picture. If anybody, because we are not in this webinar mode now, most of us can. So Dilipji, we can participate. We don't have to kind of wait for the Q&A session or something. We can participate anytime we want, right?
That is correct. Yeah, I mean, like Vijay said, that he would like to make sure that it becomes interactive. If you have a question or a comment or something that you'd like to share, please feel free to unmute yourself and share that, and just you don't have to wait till the end for the question and answer session.
Okay, so recap of the relevant key concepts. So we showed in the tattva. I mean, we showed it last year also, but then when we did the deep dive in tattvas, we showed these 36 tattvas, which were, or sorry, 25 tattvas first, which were the part of the older philosophies, Vedanta and Sankhya, and even Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. These are the 25 tattvas that form the universe. But then later on, with the Kashmir Shaivism came the 11 extra additional tattvas, which are shown here. These 5 kanchukas, Maya tattva, and then the 5 divine tattvas, um, which are here 32 to 36. So of these 25 tattvas, which form the prakriti, really, the real the world that we live in, the dual, what seems to be the dualistic world, where we all see ourselves as separate beings. So this is the world where we reside, and in this 25 tattvas, there are a few, like these 5 tanmatras, which are actually just above the mahabhutas, 5 mahabhutas, and these are basically hearing, touch, taste, smell, and visual kind of a picture form, roop. These are the 5 tanmatras, and then these 3, intellect, ego, and mind. Between the 8 of these, basically these are the Puryashtika, the city of 8. Puri is the city, Ashtika is the 8, city of 8. So these 8 are the ones which are constantly working with our monkey mind, basically, uh, thinking about what we sense every time, and creating impressions in our minds, which are called vikalpas. And this is happening all the time, every moment, as we see, as we hear, as we uh, you know touch, or taste things. And it's a big data that is coming in. It's a big data, and it's a lot of noise, and that's what's happening with our monkey mind all the time. And all the time we are actually forming impressions, right from our childhood. As we age, we're forming impressions, and this is a big ocean of vikalpas. It's an ocean of vikalpas, which is basically what we call Bhavsar Tar. So that's the ocean of vikalpas, and it keeps us busy all the time. It keeps us busy and mostly suffering in this storm, in this stormy sea. We are all kind of dealing with struggles, and getting upset with things, getting happy with stuff that happens sometimes. But all the time we are kind of just burdened and entangled in this day-to-day suffering. And we are not able to essentially see the Shiva nature and the Shakti in us, that remains kind of veiled from us. So this divine nature is hidden from us. With that, we don't see the 5 pure tattvas. We don't see the Shaktis in them, and though they are always operating in us, it's only because of this divine nature that we are able to see, hear, touch. Uh, that's the only reason why these Mahabhutas, 5 Mahabhutas exist. So the source of all of these 25 tattvas is actually that divine nature, which we are not connected with all the time, or hardly any time. And that's because this Maya and these 5 Kanchukas are really a veil, which are hiding this divine nature from us. And these limitations and the impurities from Kanchukas and Maya basically conceal the fullness of divine reality from the world of duality that we live in. So um, Maya is basically the key element, or the tattva, that basically hides this divine nature from us. Um, and we talked about the malas, but uh, our goal is really to realize that divine nature in us, and uh, and basically experience the unlimited ichha, unlimited gyan, unlimited kriya shakti that is inherent in that divine nature. But these limitations, the kanchukas really limit that unlimited thing in us, and because of which we have limited capacity to do things, to think about things, to even desire things. So
I have a question
when
that's coming to my mind. The question that's coming to my mind, let's say, yeah, there are people here who want to know this, but the fundamental premise you mentioned is that we struggle on a day-to-day basis, you said.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
said we struggle because of this vast amount of data we have to process, and we don't look beyond it because we don't know about the other thing. What if
Mhm.
people are just satisfied with just doing that? And why do they have to know this? Why do you say that they have to go to this divine? If people are just satisfied with that day to day, those just processing those huge amounts of data, and you said sometimes they're happy, but they're struggling, but they don't feel like
Yeah.
they're struggling. They feel like that's the norm. But why would they want to go here and 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 seek this divine sort of energy or whatever you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, again, anybody else who wants to kind of correct me, I'll give my perspective, but anybody else wants to correct me, this is a discussion, so you can chime in. But in my view, basically, the what Kashmir Shaivism basically did after 5,000 years of Vedantic and these other Veda kind of related and Upanishads and all, whatever accumulated knowledge had happened through experience of these gurus, they achieved some states where they experienced the reality. And these scriptures that were written as a result of that, which were refined further and further, and Kashmir Shaivism basically took it to the peak in the 11th century and all, where they expressed that reality, and they said that, hey, this is the reality, and this gives you more powers, and this gives you more uh, ability to realize your truth, and that gives you also much higher level of satisfaction and ananda, which you can experience, and you don't have to experience it. So but if you want, that's where the Shakti Patha comes. Most people don't even want to do it, as you said. They don't even know that there is any need for doing that, or there is any possibility of doing that. They just involved in this and they accept it the way it is. But some people who have the inclination, and many people have that inclination. It's not only in Kashmiri Shaivism or Hindus or Indians or anything like that. All over the world, people sometimes get this inclination to, why am I doing this? They are asking that question, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of my life? And stuff like that. That happens to a lot of people. And when that happens to people, they start to question and they start to find an answer. And when they do that, they find that uh, there's a way, and so they want to seek and try to understand that answer to question on those questions, and that brings them to the path and takes them time to really understand this and find a guru and really uncover it. But most people don't, as you said, and
Yeah.
and that's the way it is. And Kashmir Shaivism says that that's the way it was designed, actually.
Mm.
That's the way it was designed, that Shiva is trying to uh, hide his nature, true nature, to himself. And because the Shakti, basically, he's using this Shakti, the Ichha Shakti and all that, he's using his Shakti and the Maya, which is part of that Shakti, to obscure his true nature, so that he gets limited energies, all this Ichha and all, and limited capabilities, but fine-tuned to particular purpose. So there are people who are artists, there are people who are scientists, there are people who are teachers. So people are kind of formed. It's like a play that he enacts, and in that play he experiences his nature, because without that world that he has created, he cannot see his true nature. He cannot. It's a void. It's a vacuum. It's like in physics they call eigenfunctions, which are like field of all possibilities, but nothing is really happening. So, I mean, that's my long-winded answer to that question, but it's all a part of design. And most people, as you said, are not interested, or they're not even aware of the possibility of really finding the true reality.
Vijayji Vijayji, you wanted to share something?
I have just a comment. This
Mhm.
data processing So it forms the vasanas, and so which creates the desires. That's as per Vedanta principle. So I think that's what keeps on in this materialistic world coming and going all the time. Prakriti keep you entangled in Prakriti basically. So if you had no vasanas, you have no data, then you'll be able to recognize, go higher up towards realization of spirituality towards Shiva. That's just a short comment.
Yeah, so and then I think the way I would like to interpret what Vijayji also said was this how I would also like to interpret it, is that yeah, so everybody in this world faces challenges in their day-to-day life, and when that happens, sometimes you wonder, you see the question is about when you hit a challenge and you become depressed or otherwise disappointed. That's the time to know. That is the time to know that, hey, look, this is what is happening. These are the things that are around you, and then there's this other things that we don't know. And Kashmir Shaivism sort of uh, brings it out. Okay, what are those things? And in those periods of struggle, see, when you're contented, fine, but when you're not contented, that's when these questions arise. But that's what you have to know. Okay, it's all part of these this whole model of how we ought to think, and and that then it might become a breeze, is what I'm thinking.
So I think what Vijayji did, I want to summarize it, right? So there are two things. One is curiosity of a person, and second is when it is already laid down to you through these tantras and what Vijayji is showing. And why should a person not have the goal of reaching the ultimate happiness? Because in the end, you want to be happy. And this is the path given for the ultimate happiness. So who doesn't want that? And yeah, so that is what it is all about. It shows you a path, you are curious, you will embark on it and go to the path of ultimate happiness. That's the short answer.
Absolutely, and that follows up. Any Amitji, you had a question? Can you please? Vinimarate, Amitji.
No, I mean, you said, if you are contented, right?
Yeah.
If you're contented, you don't need it. But it's everybody's definition of contentment would be different, right? So I think the answer to your why initially is what Vijayji said. Why is up to you. Every individual has his own why, his or her own why. But this is how. This is how from Kashmir Shaivism. This is not the only how.
Yes.
This is how Kashmir Shaivism takes you there, right? I think that's the short answer to, you can be happy. We can be happy killing people. We can be happy earning money. We can be happy doing anything we do, or not be happy being everything we have. Like Elon Musk had 500 billion. He was still not happy. He wanted to do something else. He wanted to fire people. So happiness is subjective, or contentment is also subjective.
So
Right.
basically, we're saying that if there's a discontentment in you and you're seeking that path to happiness, yeah, and then as Rakeshji said that, hey, and as you are saying that this is one way of how Kashmir Shaivism is not, I wouldn't say the word prescribing or showing you how you can achieve that level of contentment.
Right. So I think good. These questions are actually the like Vijayji was actually talking about the Vedanta or Advaita interpretation of the Icha and the Vasanas and all that stuff. Kashmir Shaivism has got a slightly different take on this, where those Ichas and all, this Icha Shakti and all, it's inherent in us. That's the Shiva in us. Because as you see here, these Shaktis are embedded in this divine. And it's because of that divine in us that we have the Icha Shakti. It's because of that divine in us that we have the Kriya Shakti or Jnana Shakti. So in Vedanta, or in not Vedanta, in Advaita Vedanta, basically they are shunning this world, the Prakriti. They're saying that we have to take sannyas from this, and this is not good. This vasanas and all is not good. We have to just get out of this and take sannyas and be in the void, be in the divine. In Kashmir Shaivism, we say that all of these strengths that we have, all of that powers that we have, are powers of Shakti, are of the divine goddess or the feminine. And it's only because of that power that we are able to have desire. We are able to have gyan and all that. Except that it's a limited function. And this goal is to really make it unlimited and get the siddhis, become siddha, and operate in this world with that, in that sense of bliss, like we talked about in the previous chart. In the sense of bliss, this moksha and jivan mukti, where you're living, you are operating in the world, but you have achieved the goal, and you are living a life where you are aware all the moment, every moment of your time, every second. You're feeding the goddesses, and you have the siddhis to actualize all possibilities. You're living in a field of ecstasy, even in front of the worst experience that people think of worst, like we'll talk more about that. But I think the difference in Kashmir Shaivism is that we are not trying to be ascetic and give up the world, and we are attributing all that is there in this world to Shiva and the divine nature in us.
I think in Advaita Vedanta, they don't tell you to shun the world, go do the sannyas. But I think it is just the attitude, the day-to-day attitude you have to develop towards life. So that's
Correct. Yeah,
basically that's what it is. So
yeah, and the real
that's
world.
what they talk in Bhagavad Gita, is same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These things have gone through ups and downs. Bhagavad Gita was thousands of years ago, whereas Advaita Vedanta was like 1,500 years ago, and Kashmir Shaivism was 1,000 years ago. So things have become refined over time.
Right. Kashmir Shaivism give you a little bit more freedom and approach, direct approach. That's the that's probably difference. Yeah.
So the last thing I want to say on this slide, in the recapping, is that this divine is all pervading. That's what I'm saying. This Ichha Shakti and everything that we have, all of this is actually a manifestation of that divine. And none of this, whether it's Mahabhutas, Tanmatras, and Jnanendras, none of this would be there. There is this Shiva is basically all pervading. It's everywhere. We just don't see it.
Amrita ji has her hand up. Amrita ji, why did you unmute yourself and share what you want to do? Sure.
So Vijay ji, how would you formalize my question? Like, I don't know what my question is really. So I'm just going to share what I'm thinking. So when we are saying Ichha Shakti, the desire to you said shun, but we don't shun the world in Shaivism, but the desire to even be transcend, right? To meet with the totality, or the supreme consciousness. It's also a desire, right? And this question came up when we were reading Lalvaks. And what I understood from it is that we so because she says that we should not give in to the like vasanas, like the desire to, let's say, eat meat, or like something that is very close to, not close to us, that we really really desire, that we should not get involved or like give in to it. However, the only desire that is worth having is the desire to be one with the supreme consciousness. So how would you differentiate the two desires, and whether that is a desire, whether that is connected to Ichha Shakti that you talk about? So I'm kind of confused about that part.
Yeah. Actually, I think in Kashmir Shaivism also there are some left-leaning schools and right-leaning schools. There are some extreme schools like Kaula and to some extent Krama, which are basically extreme, where they actually utilize these desires, all desires, whatever makes sense. In fact, some of the upayas that we are going to go through, the practices that I have picked up are, regarding that, something that you really enjoy, even if it is alcohol, even if it is sex, even if something else, they're all okay because they're all manifestation of that power of Shiva. And if you are able to track them back towards Shiva and under or get the experience of Shiva or the Shiva experience in you through those, that's great. And that's what they did. And it was very radical, that school, the school of thought. But in society that was not acceptable in most cases, and they were shunned. But that was another school. In fact, that was more refined school than the older ones, which was the classical trika. So the desires are everything that we have, all good or bad. That's what the vikalpas are. There are shuddha vikalpas and ashuddha vikalpas. So shuddha vikalpas, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about shuddha vikalpas and ashuddha vikalpas. And the shuddha vikalpas are the ones which will take you closer to the goal. Ashuddha vikalpas are the ones that they take you away from the goal. But you can use the shuddha vikalpas to resolve the ashuddha vikalpas, and all of that we'll discuss next after doing the recap.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I want to share. I just talked about here that this divine is all pervading. Everything in this world is pervaded by the divine nature in us. Us, not only us as human beings, but even every cell that we have. Of the trillions of cells that we have, each one of those cells is pervaded by this divine reality. And in fact, it's all scientific, really. I've been kind of reading in last couple of months back, about the cells, new latest in the cell biology, how cells operate and how they have their own coordination mechanism, just like we have coordination mechanism in our society, where we have a committee and then sit down and kind of come out with decisions. Every cell has that kind of mechanism in it. So this divine actually is pervading everything, and it's that transcendental divinity that is even operating not only through us, but even through those cells, which we are all a conglomeration of. We are sum total of those cells. And the divine is acting not only at the holistic level, but even through every cell. It's a microcosm and macrocosm. So divine is in everything, all of that. So I want to kind of share here that, in these tattvas, the earth is the lowest tattva. It's the lowest tattva, but it's the most complete tattva because all of potentialities of Paramashiva are fully manifested even in that tattva. And then the other Mahabhuta is water, Jala. And this is basically actually just a couple of months back, there was a YouTube thing about this Dr. Masaru Emoto, Japanese guy, who has done work on this water and basically, there's a link here, research on water and consciousness and how molecular structure of water informs thoughts and powers of human intuition, intention, and expression. And this video, which I have a link for, it has, it's a I don't know how many minutes, like 20 odd minutes, and it talks about this Yajurveda thing. Waters are the carriers of knowledge, and they give us nourishment. May they bestow upon us great vision and insight. And it's connected in this video also, and basically talking about the fact that water is basically 72% of human brain and heart is basically water, and 72% of the surface of planet Earth is water, and this is from USGS. And I actually also saw a link to this Sadhguru explaining about the Pancha Mahabhutas and the relevance of all of that in the practice of Mahakumbh. So this water is all basically water and Jal, earth and all, they're all connected. This divine is really the thing that is really connecting all of this together. And in science these days, there is a lot of talk about this entanglement. I would call, instead of calling it entanglement, I would call it pervades. This supreme consciousness pervades all tattvas. It doesn't entangle them, but it pervades. And by pervading, it makes them connect and resonate with each other. And here there's a thing about Secret Life of Plants, which was actually by Peter Tompkins and Christopher Bird. It was published in 1973, but it's based on the experiments that J.C. Bose did back in 1901. And that was actually presented at the Royal Society of London, where it basically talks about how plants and humans communicate. And the fantastic experiments that he had done back there, more than 100 years ago. So basically, everything that is there in this world, this world has got infinite forms. Every snowflake is different from any other snowflake. Every human is different from every other human. Every cell is different from every other cell, and each one of them has a purpose in this divine construction. And all of them are entangled through that divine energy, which is pervading through all of this. So I just wanted to kind of show you that this is not something that is, some mumbo jumbo coming from 1,000 years ago, but it's also something that is being seen in the world of science today. And we actually showed here in the previous slide, sorry. In this slide here, we had shown that if we are able to overcome this stormy Bowser, we can reach this divine realm, and the realm that is closest to this Prakriti is Shuddha Vidya. Shuddha Vidya is the easiest or lowest hanging fruit in the divine realm that can be reached. So in this thing, glimpses of that Shuddha Vidya, there are some pointers to the divine realm from the quantum realm. Nowadays, 2020 Nobel Prize in Physics went to Roger Penrose, who is a black hole physicist, and he's basically bridging the gravity and quantum mechanics now. Over the last few years, after he got the Nobel Prize, he's been talking about consciousness and consciousness as being foundational. And he has been working with one anesthesiologist, Hameroff, and Ariban Bandyopadhyay. And I actually listened to some of the lectures of Ariban, and he talks about this quantum vibration, sound frequency, cognition, and so on. And he's an Indian, of course. He works mostly in Japan, but there's a lot of things that resonate with the Spanda school of Trika, he is probably not exposed to the Trika philosophy. He's exposed to Advaita. So, there may be some things that are unique to Kashmir Shaivism where Spanda school really can inform some of the work that is being done here. And then there is an entanglement. I was talking about entanglement on the previous slide. And that entanglement is something that actually was something Einstein really was spooked about. He used to call it spooky action at a distance, and he would not agree to do that. When Einstein was kind of given that quantum information science was actually presented to him, he did not agree with that. And now in this last 2022, the Nobel Prize was given for actually proving that this entanglement is true, and whatever Einstein was scared of is reality. And this entanglement that we are talking about is beyond the speed of light. Like Einstein was always kind of thinking nothing can go faster than speed of light, but this divine nature in us that entangles all the cells and all the things in us is not limited by the speed of light. It is instantaneous, and this Nobel Prize in 2022 basically proved that. And then there is a link here which basically talks about the Vedantic perspective on that Nobel Prize. And again, it's based on the Vedantic or Advaita Vedanta kind of a thing, but most people are not aware of the Kashmir Shaivism take on all of these aspects. And I think that would better inform these findings and kind of throw better light and help them resolve some of the challenges they're facing today. So this 400-year-old science that is based on which this quantum mechanics and all that is based may still be in the process of catching up to the ancient 6,000-year-old wisdom that, this Advaita Vedanta and then Kashmir Shaivism really kind of reached the peak about 1,500 years ago. So now recapping further, we have about 10-15 minutes left. Would you like to go to the next one here, recap this, or would you like to talk about the previous, any questions about the previous ones that we showed here? So what I was going to go through is, let me show you what I was going to go through. Basically, these are the 5 powers that we talked about. I think there was some reference to this: the Chit Shakti, Anand Shakti, Icha Shakti, Gyan Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. Awareness, bliss, will, knowing, and action, and the Swatantriya Shakti that comes out of all of these, and then the 5 acts of God. This is the creation, maintenance, preservation, and then concealment, and anugraha, that is the revealing aspect of Shiva, the 5 acts of Shiva. And so these are the things that we discussed last year, but I was just going to go through quickly on these. But I guess we'll have to do this recap next time. And Paravak, this is basically the speech, language, speech, expression. What are the concepts in Kashmir Shaivism? And then the last one is the identity. How do we self-identify ourselves? Again, most of the people are living in a world where they don't have any access, or they don't see any access to the divine nature, but they don't realize that divine nature is always acting through us. And so whatever Dilipji you were asking about, where do people actually live in? What is their default state? And so that's something we can actually get into understanding, which what is the identification of people, and because of which they don't see that divinity, and they basically get an aha moment sometime, and they start going on that path. And so these are the things that we'll cover, but this is mostly a recap of what we have actually learned last year. So Dilipji, do you think I should go ahead and start working on this, or do you think that the last few minutes we should have more discussion about what we covered so far? I mean, what we covered so far is the Tattva model, and this how this divine pervades everything, and scientific basis for that. And now we can talk about those divine powers and divine acts.
Yeah, I think why don't we just continue with, we still have about 5 more minutes for this one.
So let me complete this. So the five powers of God that pervade all reality, including all of us.
Vijay, please.
When you
Presentation mode, please.
So thank you. Okay. So Yatbashu, so Chit Shakti is the power of consciousness or awareness. So we are aware all the time, and therefore this Chit Shakti is always there in us. This is the consciousness in us. This is the most default state that we are all in. That's why we can smell. That's why we can see. That's why we can, feel emotional about something, and so on. It's the foundation of all reality. The only factor present in any experience whatsoever, whether pain or pleasure. We're conditioned to experience this object of awareness and not awareness itself. We see things, but we don't feel the awareness in us about it. So experience of awareness happens either spontaneously. So that's when we say, oh, you are not focusing on the object of awareness. You're focusing on the awareness itself. And that happens spontaneously. And that's where the Anupaya we will be talking about in future, that happens. Or it can happen through practices that like Shambhavapaya and other practices to dissolve our mental constructs or vikalpas that we project into reality. So Chit Shakti is always there, but we don't focus on the awareness aspect, we only focus on the object of awareness. Then the Anand Shakti is basically power of bliss. Bliss resides in consciousness like heat resides in fire. Okay, Anand is not really only sukh. It's not only the good feelings. Anand is in loving reality independent of circumstances. Even the stench of the foulest excrement is when you are able to think about the awareness, the mechanism for smelling that foulest excrement, even that becomes a sense of joy, and we'll talk about that in the upayas. So joy of being alive, that's what this bliss is. It takes take a long and deep breath, like slow breath now, and just think about the biggest gift we have. The biggest gift we have is that we are being breathed every second. Okay, when we start focusing on being aware of that fact that we are being breathed every second, and it's only because of that we can smell the foulest excrement, or we can feel the pain of anything, then you feel the bliss. Then that's when you see, you thank God for having that awareness in you, because of which you are able to see those things or experience those things, even the bad things. So that's the state of bliss. And when people achieve that, through upayas or not, or through anugraha, when they achieve that, they see bliss in everything. Okay, and nothing really disturbs them. And then that's the Ananda Shakti. These are the highest two Shaktis in Shiva.
Here it's very revealing here, right? Because we were earlier talking about how we are all wanting to be in a happy state eventually. But here you have clearly mentioned that Ananda, which is what we want to attain finally, is not Sukha. And
Yes.
So if you could expand a little bit on that ultimately to be one with God, what kind of rasa would that be?
Well, that's the Shanta Rasa, I think, in Abhinav Gupta's thing. It's called Shanta Rasa. That means, see, again, as I said, what Kashmir Shaivism did was it integrated and synthesized everything that had been learned over the 5,000 years, and put it in a new perspective and added some stuff in it. It was not anything new. It was whatever was earlier, but repackaged in a new kind of a understanding. And he basically put in the Shanta Rasa, which was the ninth rasa that he added to the Bharata's, in the Abhinav Bharati, to Bharata's Natya Shastra. He basically said that everything that happens to you, it takes you closer to the divine, and that is the Shanta Rasa. Shanta Rasa is basically where you have calmed down all your vikalpas. Your monkey mind has been calmed down, and you're feeling the shanti in your body, and it's like still water. That is Shanta Rasa. Everything,
Shanta
good or
Rasa
bad.
It's not Anand Shakti. It's different, right?
Yeah, it's different. But like Amrita was asking a question about what kind of rasa is it. So this bliss.
My question, thanks for answering that. And I thought that would be Shantarasa, and I wanted to get it confirmed. What my question was, Amitji, was that I wasn't saying what that state of being is. In Ananda, what rasa would you feel is what was my question.
Yeah, you are going to be in touch with the divine in that Ananda Shakti.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be necessarily happy or sad or anything, because those are limited.
Yeah. So again, I mean, this is the spontaneous answer that comes to my mind when you ask that question. But maybe tomorrow I'll say something else.
Maybe we are because that's what is coming to me also, and I was like, okay, let me get it confirmed. But maybe it's something else. Who knows?
Yeah. And anyway, three are Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. Let's just complete this, and then we can decide what to do and when to do next, because we are coming up with these other stuff that's going on the side. So Ichha Shakti is basically power of will or creative impulse, where you are desiring something. And this is the infinite Ichha Shakti that comes from the divine. But this is not necessarily desire, but it's a pre-cognitive creative urge towards self-expression. And this is, as a microcosm of divine, I too can tap into the power of divine will, which is the source of the infinite energy behind all creation. So this is the impulse behind the manifestation of universe, behind all of our artistic expressions, behind all the innovations that we are doing, whether in the area of science or art or whatever we're doing. This is all the Ichha Shakti that's basically powering that. And Gyan Shakti or Gyan Shakti, this is the Sanskrit way of kind of pronouncing it, is the power of knowledge. This is the inspirational energy of Ichha. It must be poured into some pattern of knowledge before it becomes action. So one must equip oneself with the necessary knowledge from discipline training, whether it is at a Gurukul or a university or an apprenticeship, whatever. But basically, we have to draw from the infinite source of knowledge that Shiva is, and that is Shiva's Shakti. That is actually Shakti, his Shakti. And again, all of these 5 things, the next one is Kriya Shakti, which is power of action. All of the above would add to nothing without the Kriya or the divine action. Most successful when it is directed to common good versus selfish motive, and enjoyed in celebration of the divine power behind it. So this action also, we will go into Upayas and we'll see what kind of actions, because actions are what get this power, this Shakti is used in Anavopaya. And Jnana Shakti is used in Shaktopaya. Ichha Shakti is used in Shambhavapaya. So different upayas that we'll be seeing, we'll be again tapping into these powers that divine has. We cannot do anything without these powers. We are powerless. We are alive because we have these powers. So I've gotten this not from most of this not from Lakshmiju Academy, but mostly from Tantra Illuminated from Christopher Wallace. And again, he's got pages and pages on all of these. I just tried to condense this on one page.
So there is where probably this, Christopher Wallace's Tantra Illuminated somehow doesn't totally align with Kashmir Shaivism. For example, we can discuss it in the next session, like Jnana Shakti, right? We talked about power of knowing, but this is, somehow it contradicts with Shiv Sutras, right? Because if we talk about Jnana Shakti, then Jnanam Bandha, right? Knowledge is an obstruction, right? So is knowledge necessary or it is not necessary? So how, we can probably discuss about it sometimes later, but these are some of the questions which would come to my mind at some point.
Yeah, my instantaneous answer to this is that all of this is Parvati's. Shakti is Parvati, is the Shakti aspect of Shiva. And the creation is being done in Kashmir Shaivism, even by Swami Lakshmanju's commentaries, is done to manifest this world where Shiva can realize the field of all possibilities. So these Shaktis are part of that world, that where we can actualize the Ichha that emerges from the Ichha Shakti that is at the foundation of our nature. And this is the creative will, creative urge that we feel before we say anything, before we discover anything, before we know anything. And without this, there will be no manifestation. And so manifestation is real. And I think even Kashmir Shaivism recognizes, even though it says Jnanam Bandha, it is basically saying that it causes in the real dualistic world, the world that we live in. See, all of these all of these, even Shiva Sutras and all these, they have come in the last few 100,000 years. Even before that, 5,000 years ago, we were still going through Kali Yuga.
Antra, yeah.
You know, we're going through a Kali Yuga, and these scriptures have been passed down to really help people in Kali Yuga, where they are not having the access to this true bliss and true icha, true jnana shakti at the transcendental level. In Satyuga, people have access to that at the transcendental level, and they don't see themselves in the dualistic mode most of the time. In Kali Yuga, we see all of us in a dualistic mode. So this Ananda Shakti, Icha Shakti, and all is kind of hidden from us in the real world. But it is necessary for the realization of field of all possibilities, for which Shiva has created this universe through his Shakti, which is all these Shaktis that we are talking about here. And it is through these Shaktis that the Swatantriya, that Shiva's nature, Swatantriya, he can realize it. He can realize the innate freedom and autonomy to pick from the field of all possibilities that is there in the Shiva. You know, this is very unique to Kashmir Shaivism, that, you know, all of this is actually necessary. So whatever you know, Vasugupta said in that second awakening is basically saying that, hey, this is hiding us from our true nature. It's a bandha, right? But we can realize the true nature while we are living in this world, while Shiva is manifesting his thing. And that's his purpose. That's the reason why he has done this, because he wants to realize the field of all possibilities. You know, it's like Schrodinger equation. It's an equation. It has got all the possible functions, possible result, solutions, but nothing happens till one of the solutions or those solutions get actualized. So this is a way of actualizing this. If you don't have an observer, nothing will really manifest. And the Schrodinger equation will remain a Schrodinger equation. Nothing will manifest. You have to have an observer. So that's why this universe has been created, to have an observer, so that the field of all possibilities is actualized. It's very subtle. It's like a play. It's Samsarchu. It's also a play where Shiva is
all this is created to actually realize himself.
Realize himself, yes. Otherwise, he's a void.
Yeah.
He's Akash. It's an Akashic field which has no manifestation. It's quite profound, actually, very subtle. But obviously, science will not accept it the way it is there, unless they start they start realizing how quantum mechanics is so different from classical physics. And they can't understand quantum mechanics. You have to put this iota, the under root of -1, in front of every equation, and they call it imaginary, and it's all imaginary. So the same way, this is a transcendental thing, is all imaginary. And so if it's acceptable in physics with that iota, why is it not acceptable in this philosophy? So that's what they're realizing now. They're becoming more and more open to this ancient wisdom.
We're about 8 minutes over, Vijayji.
Okay, so I will just close with this file. And so basically, these Shaktis give us the capabilities. And if we are in the divine realm, we'll achieve siddhis, and we'll be able to utilize these powers of Icha, Jnana, and Kriya, which are infinite in nature from Shiva, and they can be translated through our energy centers in our body to realize the field of all possibilities. So a scientist will create new innovations. A painter will make fantastic paintings, the expression of art, which gives us that Shantarasa. Music creators will create that thing where people can engross themselves and enjoy that bliss. And Swatantriya Shakti. So basically, Swatantriya Shakti is basically giving us all these powers. so we can achieve siddhis. We can do whatever we are doing better. We can do it better because we are drawing from the field of infinite field of bliss, of will, knowing, and action. Ultimately, that's what we do in our life. We are just every second, actually, and I will talk about that, the 12 kalis, the concept of 12 kalis. Every second, every microsecond, actually, where these powers are manifesting themselves through our actions or through our expressions. Okay, so I think we'll close here, and then next time we'll continue. And Dilipji, I think we will continue with the same approach that we did in the Tattva model, where we were not rushing through stuff. We were trying to assimilate things. We're trying to kind of ask questions and try to reflect on some of those answers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
ठीक है?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Does anybody else have to say anything before we close today's? And I can stop the recording also. I mean, if you want to say.
Yeah. So Surendraji Bhan, actually he has joined, I think. So welcome. He's probably the only person who probably saw the event on the KOS. I just wanted to give a heads up that now there is a page on koausa.org where there will be events listed. So if you're interested in upcoming events, we'll update it there as well as, of course, on the group. So just wanted to everyone to know, know that there is a website that will have all the upcoming events. It also has what is going on with the language program. I think Kashmir Hicha we have not put in there, but that's also starting. So I would like that schedule from you, Dilip. So I'll put it in there. But you can filter based on Shaivism as like categories. If you filter out, you will see if any upcoming programs are happening, language-based, etc., etc. So please use the website koausa.org and go to events to see your future events. And if you have any questions, please send